Hey, what's up guys? I'm Sal. Thanks for checking out the video. In last week's video, I installed the Bilstein 4600 shocks with keeping the leveling spacer that I had on there. And I wanted to give you my impressions after having it on the truck for about a week. And then I want to talk quickly about why I went with the 4600s over 5100s with a little bit of a more legit leveling setup. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, it's like a million degrees out here, so I'm gonna try and do this quick and to the point, but we all know I can ramble a bit, so we'll see how that goes. But if you missed last week's video, I threw on the 4600 shocks. Go check it out for a very detailed install, but overall, pretty manageable. I think if you got some pretty basic tools, you can definitely handle it yourself. But initial impressions, first off, truck still doesn't drive like a Rolls Royce or a Bentley, like it's not going to, but I would say the ride improved a lot. I don't feel every little crack in the road anymore, and the potholes that used to send shocks straight through my spine, now they just feel like big bumps like they would in any other car. So the old shocks that were in there, they weren't leaking or on their way out at all. It was really just the bushing down at the bottom where it connects to the lower control arm. So I don't feel a huge improvement in rebound, stiffness, or anything like that. Honestly, most of that feels the same, but it's really those little cracks that I don't feel every tiny little bump in the road. The bushing is actually isolating that pretty well. So in that regard, definitely feel an improvement. As far as overall ride quality, I wouldn't say it's a massive difference. Unfortunately, I still have a bit of a rattle coming from the driver's side front, and I can't figure out what it is. I've been racking my brain trying to think about what could be causing the sound. I thought it was going to be the sway bar end links because I had done the passenger side one, hadn't done the driver's side one, and it kind of sounded like that, like a broken end link. But I swapped those out, and sound is still there. So while it was up in the air, I was kind of trying to shake stuff, see if anything could be loose, and I didn't find anything specifically. I made sure to test the lower ball joint. That's all really tight, and I think, again, I'm going through stuff in my head. I think the two options on the strut that it could be is where the spring sits on the spring perch at the bottom there. There's no rubber isolator, so maybe that could be it. And then up at the top, I made sure that it was clocked properly, so it's sitting in the upper rubber isolator where it was before. But maybe that rubber is just shot as well, and that's where the sound is coming from. Those are my two ideas on the shock itself. As far as the rest of the suspension, there was nothing glaringly obvious that could be causing the noise. I'm thinking it might be the steering rack bushings that could be gone, and then the whole steering rack is just shaking when I go over little bumps. But maybe the sway bar bushings as well. I'm not really sure. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know. Some of you guys were commenting that maybe it was the upper control arm or the upper ball joint hitting the spring, and I kind of bit off on that too at first, but the sound happens over really any bump or crack, so the suspension isn't going through its full range of motion when the sound happens. It could even just be over tiny little things. So yeah, let me know if you have any ideas, but I'm going to keep looking into it and hopefully try to fix it. It just sounds like an old crusty truck when you're going over bumps, and I don't want that. I want it to sound solid. But yeah, otherwise really happy with the upgrade. Like I said, not super substantial improvement, but definitely worthwhile. And I mean, you saw the bushings in the last video. It needed to be done, so I'm still really happy that I did it. Okay, so before we get into why I decided to go with 4600s on my truck, I want to quickly take a second to talk about the shirt that I'm wearing today from Lowerworx. It's a small business based out of Germany actually, but the owner Sasha reached out and wanted to send me a couple t-shirts for me to try on and share with you guys. So it's mostly focused on JDM car culture, Japanese cars, but they have tons of other options, and I encourage you to go to check out the website and find one of the many designs that I'm sure you guys will love. And for you Tundra guys, one of the coolest things that he offers is custom t-shirts. So if you want a design with Toyota and your truck on it, or TRD or something like that, you can send him pictures of your truck, work back and forth to create a design, and make a one-off t-shirt for you. And it's not much more than just buying a regular t-shirt from him. So I think that's one of the coolest options. I recently went through custom ink to make shirts for the channel here. Big thing there, you have to make the design yourself, obviously. So some of you might think that's fun to do, but if you maybe don't think you're super creative or you don't have the time to make a design, Sasha will do that work for you. You just kind of feed him the ideas that you want, and he'll make a design for you, and you can run with it. Then with custom ink, there's a 2-week lead time from when you submit the design to when you get it. Sasha, when he sent out the shirts to when I got them, was like 7 or 8 days, so half the time there. And then as far as price and quality, Sasha with shipping is a little bit more than custom ink would be for a single t-shirt, but man, when I went with custom ink shirts, I went through all the shirts in my closet. I was like, oh man, yeah, this Gildan Tri-Blend or whatever is like the one I want to go with. And so I went on a custom ink, found the exact shirt, ordered it, and when it came in, it was not the same Gildan Tri-Blend that I had. It was some special custom ink version that was super, super cheap. I felt like I could just tear it in half. It was all sewn weird, the sleeves were all wonky, and yeah, I was actually pretty disappointed with it. Whereas the shirts from Lowerworx, they're not super thick, but light and breathable without feeling cheap, if that makes sense. The designs are really high quality, like the prints on them. So quality-wise, Lowerworx wins straight outright. So yeah, if you're interested in a custom shirt or just one of the many options they have on their website, I'll have it linked in the description. At least go check it out. Support a small business, even over in Germany, and you won't be disappointed with the quality you get from Lowerworx. So let's get back to it. Okay, so 4600s or 5100s. It was way harder of a decision than I was expecting it to be, if I'm being honest, for a couple of reasons. I was thinking about the price, I was thinking about what do I actually use this truck for, and then I was thinking about, I run a YouTube channel now, which it's one of those things it's hard to describe until you're actually in this situation where you have 4,000 people subscribed to you and you feel like you kind of owe them an explanation for the decisions that you make. And if you, anywhere you look online, YouTube videos, websites, forums, the comment section of my own videos, these leveling spacers cause a bit of a stir. People will tell you they're going to ruin the ride quality of your truck. They're going to cause all sorts of suspension issues. They're the worst option that you can go with for a lift kit. And I'm like, do I go with the 4600s and reuse those leveling spacers, going against what everyone else says to do? Or do I ball out relatively and get the 5100s with Old Man Emu springs and all that sort of stuff? And I went back and forth so many times. I had all the 5100 stuff in my cart one day. Next week I was back to 4600s, flip-flopped all the time. And then I had kind of like a come to Jesus moment of, Sal, what do you use this truck for? And you know what I use it for? I drive 5 miles to work in the morning, 5 miles back at night, go to the grocery store. I never take this thing off-road. It's a pavement princess, small crawler, whatever you want to call it. And I have no need for a bigger, more expensive suspension setup. That's really what it comes down to. I understand that the leveling spacer is not the most ideal way of leveling your truck. I know using the full-on lift or spring setup with Old Man Emu or whatever and 5100s is the way to go. But in my situation, I got these 4600 shocks from Amazon for $350 shipped. If I was going to go with the 5100s, I was looking at a little bit more than that for just the shocks. I would need new springs, which were a couple $100. I would need a new isolator, rubber isolator for the top because the springs are a little bit more narrow. I would need new top hats because I actually trimmed the studs on mine in order to use the leveling spacer. And if I decided to go with first gen off-road and have him assemble it for me, then it's an extra like $100+ I forget exactly, but I'm looking at like $800, $900 for a full suspension setup as opposed to $350 all in here. And I just had a hard time justifying paying double the cost to have the better setup that won't fail off-road and all that stuff when 99.9% of the time, this truck is on the road, you know? So that was my big dilemma, is what do I do with this suspension, and what do I do with the truck? So that's really the main reason there. Now, I also did a lot of research into what is so bad about these leveling spacers, because I really couldn't wrap my head around it. So one of the links I have in the description has a great side-by-side comparison of what a leveling spacer looks like and what a more legit lift kit looks like. And that's when I saw that, it all sort of clicked for me of why this isn't as desirable as a more legit setup. The down and dirty of it is it's really hard to explain. You really got to see it visually, but this doesn't actually improve your shock travel at all. It's great for fitting a bigger wheel and tire setup and just visually looking leveled. But as far as off-road abilities, it does not improve it at all. So in that case, if you're doing off-roading and you want to be more capable, definitely go with the 5100s. But in my case, I just want the truck to look cooler. I mean, for a bunch of you guys, I'm sure is the same way. You don't really go off-road, you just want your truck to look cool. And in that case, I still think that the leveling spacer for 50 bucks or whatever it is definitely a more cost-effective way of doing it. But biggest thing, it comes down to your use case. I'm not trying to make a decision for you. It really comes down to how much do you want to spend on your suspension and what do you use your truck for. You got to be kind of honest with yourself on that one. But yeah, other than that, I hope the video is helpful for you. Definitely go check out Lowerworx. Thanks again, Sasha, for sending out the t-shirts for me. And with that, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and have a great rest of your day.